Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
We shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised. We've never been a country to shy away from the truth. Our history shows that we stand up when it counts. And it's this quality that has defined America's character and our significance in the world. Now, I know this simple truth, and I am not afraid to say it. Our ideas are right for America, and their ideas have failed America. We need politicians to care more about doing something and less about being something. Yeah. Amen. And believe me, if we could do this in a blue state like New Jersey with a conservative Republican governor, Washington, D.C. is out of excuses.
All right, folks, that, of course, was Christie giving the keynote at the Republican National Convention in 2012. Welcome to the road to the White House. This is installment number 5, and today we take a look at the prospects for a Governor Christie presidential run. And I'm very happy to say joining me is the CEO of Zogby Analytics and founder of the Zogby Poll, John Zogby, and veteran political consultant and editor and publisher of the Stone Zone, Roger Stone. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you.
Great to be with you, Roger.
All right, and John, it's been a long time. I haven't talked to you in ages, and it's great to have you aboard. Let me start with that speech. He got a lot of criticism for that speech, for talking a lot about himself. I also was struck by the fact that he also lumped the ineffectiveness of Washington as everyone's fault. People can't get along. He didn't say it was the Democrats' fault. And he did the same thing speaking at the Reagan Library earlier that year, where he talked about the need to get along, politicians on both sides. Again, not blaming the Democrats or a president who says, I won't negotiate. So let me start with you, John. First of all, what do you see as the prospects for a Governor Christie presidential run?
Well, you know, anything can change, Steve, but very dim. His numbers are heading in the wrong direction. He was the front runner at one point, and now he's slipping. I had him in my most recent poll just a few days ago, in fact, at 13. Same as Jeb Bush, but with Rand Paul climbing up to 20%. So the numbers are headed in the wrong direction. Secondly, one of his strengths, I think, was would have been not simply to offer an alternative governing philosophy, but actually an alternative governing model as a conservative model in New Jersey. And he's not doing that anymore. And now he's actually quite annoying to conservatives nationally and very annoying to conservatives in New Jersey.
What about it, Mr. Stone?
There's not one but 2 pending federal investigations into corruption surrounding Christie. Frankly, the controversy regarding the Pulaski Skyway and the illegal financing of the bonds to work on that may be more troubling than Bridgegate. So how do you run for president with 2 federal investigations hanging over your head? Will Christie be indicted, or will people around him be indicted while he's campaigning in New Hampshire? The bloom is off this road, Steve. He's not a viable candidate. John's survey the other day was very significant, shows Rand Paul moving ahead, and it shows Christie back in the pack with the other rhinos. I just don't see this as viable. In all honesty, I don't know where he would raise the money. Most of the Christie money people have now moved to urging Jeb Bush to run. So I think this is a fantasy at this point. He's damaged in New Jersey. He's got a net unfavorable there. He's damaged nationally, and he's got 2 active investigations following him around. I just don't see it.
There's a further
All right, another. Yeah, go ahead, John.
No, just the further problem to that is that on Bridgegate, he has no defense. He's really boxed in. On one hand, either he created the atmosphere and knew what was going on, or if he didn't know what was going on right in front of his own eyes and under his own nose, that you can't say, hey, vote for me. I didn't know what the hell was going on, among my 2 of my chief aides.
Well, there are other issues as well. The optics and the embracing right before the presidential election. The photo op, the president who doesn't like photo ops, of course, took one with Chris Christie. And you also have the very combative style of Chris Christie, which some people like and some people don't. So what about it, Roger? Both of those issues, a net plus or a net negative?
Net negative. I mean, let's take them one by one. I don't think party people, Republican Party regulars, have gotten over Chris Christie's embrace of Barack Obama in the closing days of the last presidential campaign. And as far as his style works great in New Jersey and maybe parts of New York City. It doesn't work in Iowa. You talk that way to people in Iowa, they'll smack you in the mouth. It's disrespectful. It's nasty. I think that's the larger problem here is, does this man have the gravitas, the balance, the serenity to be president, or is he a hothead? Americans don't want a hothead with their finger on the button. They don't want a president who is more interested in revenge than he is progress. I really think this guy has blown a great opportunity. His opportunity to run was 4 years ago, really now 2 years ago. He didn't do so. I really think this train has passed him by.
John, what about those two issues, the closeness to Obama during Sandy and his style?
Well, it's certainly not going to help him in the primaries. That's for sure. And certainly not with conservative voters altogether. So that's a given. The other thing, though, is kind of interesting. I think voters are going to be looking for governance. They've had their attempt at hope and change, and I think what they're going to be looking for is stability. That might have been a strength for Chris Christie if he were not imploding in his own home state. But the other thing is that there may be some appeal for a candidate who, is the kind of guy who doesn't take any junk from anyone. That was the element of early John McCain. I think that was the sort of thing that that certainly helped fuel John McCain even in 2008, beat all of his handlers, and he was kind of that independent. So 2000 and 2008, but with Chris Christie, I just don't see an opening for him now. And you never say never, but I don't know what he does this year to rehabilitate himself, frankly.
All right, I want to play something for you guys. He gave an interview. He was on CNBC a couple of weeks ago on that morning show, and he was asked about the Hobby Lobby decision, which I think was the day before. But before he was asked about that, he was asked about his position on abortion and, if you run, are you going to run on telling women that they have no control over their bodies, whatever? And he said, here's what I would advise Republicans to do. He said, and this is a quote, I would advise Republicans to, if they're asked a question, answer it. And then in the next breath, he's asked a question about Hobby Lobby, what he thought of the decision, and here's what he said.
Fact is that when you're an executive, your Supreme Court makes a ruling and you got to live with it unless you can get the legislative body to change the law or change the Constitution. The point is like, why should I give an opinion on whether they're right or wrong?
Why? So they asked him, was the Supreme Court right or wrong? And he said, why should I give you an opinion on whether they're right or wrong? When he just said Republicans should answer the question. So this is more of the, I'll call it arrogance, that Chris Christie, I believe, consistently exhibits. Roger?
Yeah, I agree with you on this, Steve. I mean, I think it's very interesting that he now does spend some time talking about the fact that he's pro-life, which he never used to raise because in the state of New Jersey, it's probably not a general election plus. But as John has pointed out, the economics of his administration are shot to hell on spending, on taxes, on pension reform. He's headed the other way. He's demonstrating once again, he's just a big government Republican. So I don't even think he's got the argument of conservative governance in New Jersey working for him anymore. As far as your series here on the presidency, we should move to the next possible contender because this guy's a non-starter.
Well, we'll do that on Monday. But, John, I think that was an example. I mean, why should I answer the question? Another example was when I asked him about the Ground Zero Mosque at the time, he said, it's none of my business. Why should I give an opinion? For someone with such a big mouth so often, he's gun shy a lot, is he not?
He's trying to stay alive in a blue state, basically. But what keeps you alive in a blue state doesn't win any Republican primaries for you. And so he's in that awful position where, first of all, he's just not doing well. He's not doing well as governor. He's not doing well as a presidential candidate. But he's trying to run a general election strategy, but he has no strategy for winning the Republican nomination.
John Zogby and Roger Stone, thank you both so much. And Roger, always great to see you. And as I said, John, good to see you again. I hope we talk more frequently. Thanks for being on the road to the White House. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks.
All right, folks, so we will continue with our series all next week, a different day, a different candidate. So be there for that. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. Coming up next, it's Gimme 5. Don't go away.